Guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue our adventure here with Vagrus, the Riven Realms. So we have reached to Scrapheap, and now we're going to track in this town the guy called Narbo. So that's the only stories that we can follow, just because this is the tutorial. If it is not because of the Pilgrims of the Wasteland, then we would have here different options. So let's get on with it. You make your way to the Wraith's stash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King, but not quiet under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Narbo and his little operation of honest merchants. Apparently, the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javik, you leave the comitatus to the care of Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone negotiating. Ash is fleeting from the black sky as you cross the street, a nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce them. So, they have been here before. This is not the first time. They know what to do, they know what are the rules. So we don't have weapons as we enter into the Wraith's stash. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger. And of course, they have no idea what Javik is capable of, should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Narbo, one never knows. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back. The entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. And they are talking about this entrance in which we see this bartender here and this people here, and I believe that this is Narbo here. Shadowy faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large hip lizard on display. Wait, are those hip lizards the one that are holding the cargo in here? Narbo is sitting at a table in the back. His bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at a wall behind him. So it is going to be this guy here. Make your way confidently over to Narbo. Let's go directly to Narbo. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Narbo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and a few missing teeth. It's this guy here. Part of his face is covered in scars similar to those left by old burns. That, coupled with the withered and mutated left arm that hangs limply at his side, is a clear indication of the taint. What is the taint? The merchant wears a leather jerkin studded with small bronze and bone coins, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard A lithe man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the wall. Narbo's mouth falls open as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder. It has been 10 years. The fuck, mate? He blinks. I thought you croaked. People, Narbo waves his good hand around and looks at his bodyguard. Told tales of your demise. The man finishes his sentence for him as the merchant nods vehemently. That business with Karnak, Outpost, and the Storm, Narbo adds. Okay, you tell him that you were indeed at Karnak when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. But what happened in Karnak? You add how many of your original comitatus died there, close friends, all traveling companions, but you walked away unscathed. This was years ago. Sheesh. That fucker Aerophons looked after you something fierce, huh? Narbo chuckles heartily. But I'm sure you haven't come to reminisce about good old times, huh? His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. Okay, get down to business right away, you have no time to spare. You tell Narbo to let bygones and bygones, and instead listen to what you have to offer now. You got some balls coming here. All business and bold. After a tense moment, his stern expression turns into a toothless smile. I like it. The bodyguard visibly becomes less tense. Narbo opens his arm wide and bows his head. Let's hear it, mate. You breathe in. Time to outline your proposition. Now we have dependencies, meaning you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite, including perks, companions, resources, journal entries, and so on. Some choices involve tests that can be failed or succeeded with different consequences. Test difficulty is represented by a number between 1 to 100. You explain to Narbo how you want him to give you a discount on a shipment of metal scraps. So he is the man that controls all of the metal in here, apparently, which you then would smuggle into Deven through contacts you have in the city's underworld. So remember that Deven is an underworld. When they mean underworld, they mean underground, and I think the wraiths, they are called the people that live there. The profit on the shipment would be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table as if listening to some noise from afar. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you are done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile. That sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it, he says as he shifts in his chair. And it's a great plan, except for the part where I give you a discount from Yosking, and not much else. And I don't do that, mate. That would make me what? An almoner, the bodyguard adds discreetly. That award? Narbo looks up at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you. I, an almoner, see? I'm no almoner. You know, you gotta do better than that. What you got for me? So this option is very low chance of success. and we can increase it. It is going to cost 2 resourcefulness. Let me see. In here it says that it's moderate. Tell him that you will be in his debt, and he will make a tidy profit as it is, but you will owe him a favor, which evidently is going to be good for him. If we reveal that we are in a bad spot, I think it is going to show him a little bit of weakness. Sadly, we cannot do this one. Let him know that in exchange, you can help him out with a problem. But because we don't know the secret, so something that I noted previously is that this scroll has this animation in here. You can see when you scroll up and down. You see the animation is so neat. So tell him that you will be in his depth. Let's go with this one. That's what we got. And we got a success. You roll 13, equal to or below the test difficulty. So the test roll must be below the 51. I suppose you don't plan on croaking just so I can't collect on said debt. Narba's chuckle turns into a short whizzing cough. I know you to be a man of your word, and we used to run together, so I know you're good. But just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. I'll collect right now, in fact. You headed to Deven by way of Avernum, right? When you nod, Narble leans closer and signals his bodyguard. The man with the dreadlocks steps closer and carefully produces a small packet from beneath his leather jerkin, then puts it into the merchant's palm. This here, little fella, is mighty important to me. If you take this out of the city and deliver it to my associate in Avernum, we're even. So the previous thing that we have with this guy is going to be even if we do this little job in here. So he says, you get your discount scrap from me, including taking this package. Okay, this is a small packet. The merchant offers you the package. Javik draws in a breath, but before he could speak, Narbo interrupts him. Before Pretty Boy asked, no, I won't tell you what's in it, and don't even think about opening the package. What I can say is, it ain't dangerous to itself, but you might want to keep it hidden from the damn militia of good old Scrapheap. It is not dangerous, okay? You take the package. We don't have anything else to offer, that's it. The way Narbo glares at you makes it clear that you have no other choice. This might just be the opportunity you had hoped for. The package is small enough to fit your palm, feels very light, and is wrapped in fine leather. You pocket it after briefly observing it. You'll be looking for a man named Skornar in Avernum. He ain't to be trifled with either. Just tell him I sent you and you'll be fine. You can find him or his men in Lavinus watering hole most of the time. Give this little fella to him and to him only. So we have to give this to Skornar. After you assure him you do, Narbo instructs you to give him an hour, then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you on the metal scraps by then. He motions to his man. You and Javik stand up and make ready to leave. Ravur here will take you to the back exit. We don't want to give people the idea they can come here to beg for almonds now, do we? Or anyone to connect us and run to the militia, for that matter. You got what you came for. So you leave the Wraith's stash through the back entrance and head back to the Comitatus. Okay. We can do two things here. Walk up to the tower it's time to visit the Hip King or stroll Scrounger's Lane. There's always something to be had there. Two things we can do. Let's walk up to the tower. So walking up the Great Heap to the immense tower is a daunting task. Up on the hill, it is even more difficult to breathe than in the ash-choked city at its feet. A hot wind blows from the south. Every step is slow torture. By the time you reach the gates of the tower, your chest is heaving and you keep coughing up soot. Can you imagine that? Before you reach the tower of the Heap King, ruler of this trash pile of a town. The whole structure is coupled together from scrap with the lowest levels covered in metal sheets. A huge bonfire of yellow-white flame burns on its topmost level day and night, a beacon for the scavenging teams to follow home. Looking nigh impregnable, the fortress has only one entrance, a small group of guards sneering malevolently at you as you approach. "Better turn back if you have no business here, vagabond," the ranking gatekeeper says from under a mask attached to his bronze skull cap. You have nothing to say that would gain entry. A long walk down the hill awaits. We don't have an invitation to the tower, apparently. Ask them where you could acquire an invitation. Let's see. Ask them where you could acquire. We didn't do this before. Could try this one. But now that we're here, I think it's going to be good to ask them where you could acquire an invitation. Perhaps you could try licking my arsehole and see where it gets you, one of the guards says loud enough for you to hear. A round of applause and guffaws follow. The ranking guard does not laugh, but does nothing to reprimand his men either. "My duty is to stop anyone without official business to enter, not to educate them or to get a pass," he says and walks back to the others. Nothing will change their minds. You walk down the hill. So we tried to talk with the Heap King. There's nothing to do. We definitely need a pass to do that. So scroll to the Scrounger's Lane, where we're going to find our scrap. You and Javik roam the dingy market called Scrounger's Lane at the foot of the great heap upon which the tower of the Heap King is built. Ash-covered awnings and dirty stalls line the labyrinthine streets, with stiffingly narrow alleys and tiny squares adding to the general confusion. Sometimes it is difficult to tell a shop from a dilapidated home, and for a good reason. Most people who live here are also merchants to some extent. And even though the Heap King's militia is there to keep the peace, you can't help but notice all the shifty gazes from the deplorable types aimed at you. Take a look at the local prices. You recall a little shop hidden in an alley. Its owner used to peddle dwarven curiosities. Perhaps it is still there. We can have a success by doing this. Leave the market. You do not really have the coin to buy anything anyway. That'll be difficult. Recalling a little shop. Let's do that. And we failed. Higher than the test, which is 97, you cannot for the life of you find the small shop you visited years ago. It is probably gone. Now this is so amazing because we can even fail to try to find something, and everything could have changed otherwise. The shacks and shops shift here like the waves of the sea at high tide. Was there something else you wanted to do here? Best leave the market altogether. It has been a long day. So we went and did our strolling. So there we go. Okay. So now what? Your journal located in the bottom left is now active. It is your means to follow stories. Open your journal now. Wow. It wants us to open the journal. Where is the journal? Here. The journal allows you to view your quests, tasks, and other related information. You can search for entries and filter them. Objectives are the quests and ongoing stories. Tasks are non-narrative missions and goals you can complete for rewards. There are several types like trade opportunities or mercenary work. But in the Pilgrims of the Wasteland, you can only find passengers here. Now, what are passengers? Passengers have to be taken to their destination where they will compensate you for your trouble. Be careful because sometimes passengers will leave if you take too long to get to their destination. So this is pretty much people that will ask you to escort them. Qualities can be statuses, gather information, secrets, and so on. Unread entries have a blue exclamation mark icon and appear on top. While already read entries are marked by a gold circle. A wandering old man. That's an active one. A wandering old man. Passengers 1. Deliver the wandering old man to Ash. Ah, it's going to be rewarded with 1 coin. Is this possible? That's an active one. By the way, you can write in here entries on the on the journal. We have the shipment. You must save your comitatus, and this is buy everything for the journey at the market. We need 24 scrap metal goods, at least 800 supplies, and the owning equipment. In the package that we have to find Skornar in Avernum. The market. The market is here. The market pane displays the available goods you can buy at the settlement market. On the right, and opens the cargo pane. The maximum cargo space is 3,000 slots. 3,000, which is 30 slots, sorry. Okay. It cannot be expanded further. So when you buy, you can buy or sell 1 increment only by clicking on the buy or sell button next to the listed goods. Holding shift will go a whole stack, respectively. Drag and drop the icon for buying or selling stacks of goods. Holding shift and clicking the icon opens a window where you can specify the quantity you wish to buy or sell. So we have to purchase 24 scrap metal, as we said. We discussed that in the previous section in the journal. So let's go. 800 units and supplies. Now, supplies we have 5, 6, 7. These are the supplies. Bundle of supplies enough to cover 1 consumption. Bread from root grain with vegetables or mushrooms. A bit of dried meat if you are lucky. So, we need to buy 1 of these, which is 100, I believe. So we buy 1. Oh, wait, did we? It was 1 stack here? To buy a specific amount, shift click, okay. We can do this. We can actually do that. So we have 215, 250, 500, and we need another 50. There we go. So we have 800. As of right now, we have 800, which is the additional supplies. And now the scrap metal, which is this one. Random pieces of old metal can still be smelted down to find iron and other metals in them. So we buy the 24, we just grab them. Can we just... If you click shift, you go maximum. It's going to cost us, you can see here, 13 bros and lyrics, 2 lyrics, 13 bros and 2 lyrics. Okay. There we go. Equipment that you can attach to the comitatus is sold on some markets or found throughout your travels. They provide bonuses and upgrades. You can switch between the market of goods and equipment using the buttons over the list of items in the market pane. So switch to the equipment tab and purchase the awnings. I think story, which is going to be here. The display equipment, there we go. So we have these awnings, linen awnings stretched over saddles and carts to block harmful weather effects and provide shade. It is a category from the harness. You can see here, it's here. It is going to be located here. So are those things here in the drawing, as you can see? That are those awnings here. So it is going to be 8 bros for the awnings. There we go. So the third type of cargo do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. Those are items. They're used and traded in certain events. You can switch panes in a settlement and the active pane will open the corresponding pane of the comitatus management on the left. You can now freely check the settlement tabs. When you're done exploring, click on the exit arrow on the top right to leave Scrapheap. Once you leave, you cannot come back to this place in the Pilgrims of the Wasteland. So we have plenty of other things here. The cargo here. We can buy coal, which is essential to smelting and slew of other industries. Coal is mined near the western mountains and the eastern swamps. Items. Beast lures. Lures prepared to attract all manner of predators, ideal to lure beasts away from you or into a trap. By the way, here we can do all of the cargo and all of the equipment that they have. They don't have any other. Medical supplies are potions, tinctures, concoctions, draughts, dried healing herbs, bandages, and all sorts of other medicine in an ice pack. And the Asculite charms, magical charms enchanted by Ascul's priests. Ascul's priests, we need to discover what is this. They attract most kinds of undead for a brief period of time and so can be used to lure them away. Asculs. Okay. So I think we're good. Tools. We don't have any other tools here. Metals, materials, edibles, crafted goods. Here we can see harnesses. And we can see tools are these, but we don't have. Each of these have their own icon. As you can see, these are the arms, protective gear, sorcery, navigation, cargo, and miscellaneous. Okay. Good. Packed up, restocked on supplies, and with all your business here concluded, you finally make ready to leave the decrepit town of Scrapheap behind in the morning. You spend the night inside a guarded compound, or on second thought, there are still things you wish to explore. Now, we spend the night inside a guarded compound. For one day we paid 1 lyric. You set out at dawn as is fleeting from the sky, in the distant mountains rumble ominously in the morning twilight as your comitatus reaches the west gate of the town. You notice almost immediately that the militia at the gates is questioning and inspecting travelers. Move along towards the inspection. You realize that even if they are looking for the package Narbo gave you, there is a minuscule chance of finding it among several departing caravans, all made up of dozens of people, respectively. Besides, the packet is tiny and well hidden at the bottom of a sack of dried mushrooms. A robed magistrate of the Hip King appears to coordinate the search effort, picking out people or even whole traveling groups for inspection. As your commentator draws near, it takes only a passing glance from him to check you and your crew before he motions to the guards to let you through. You quietly pass under the gate and out into the broken wasteland. The Comitatus is well on its way, and Scrapheap is a mere dot on the horizon by the time Javik joins you at the front of the line. Just like I said, you made the right choice with this venture. Talk of how you may have saved us, he says with a faint smile. Of course, we do have to make it alive to Deven with the cargo, but it's a good start, don't you think? Let's see. Turn away and walk on without a word. Now, as far as I understand, there's no mechanic in which each bad decision is going to decrease the standing of characters against you. So, for example, that mechanic in Crusader Kings, in which you decrease the positive views from that character to you, I don't think, as far as I understand, this is the case in here. Turning away and walk on without a word is also something that I think is going to be more precise. I could nod in agreement either way, but I'm going to go for a turn away and walk on without a word. Although Javik says nothing, you can see how your behavior vexes him. There you go. With that, you both go back to your duties and the constant monitoring of the horizon. If all goes well, you should reach the Wound in a few days, where you can turn south along the edge of the Molten Tongue and travel down to Avernum. What is the Wound? And there is another thing that I have to take into account. The Wound, the chasm called the Wound is 15-mile long cleft that runs between broken hills right next to the dead forest on its southern side. By the way, we're going to be very soon able to see the map. True to its name, the 100 to 200 yard deep ravine's bottom glows with a crimson light and is covered with a blood-like liquid. The penetrating horrid smell of a gangrenous wound permanently covers the whole area. No one has ever returned from the ill-fated ventures to the bottom of the pit. Abominable creatures born of the blood-like liquid wander the wound's vicinity, sometimes attacking indiscriminately, other times not paying mind to passers-by. I was trying to find right now the name of those of that sorcerers group. The I don't know, where is it? For example, here, let's see, the Calamity. The Calamity is the single most important historical event of the Empire, and given its far-reaching consequences in relation to divine beings, probably for the whole world. Best described as an arcane cataclysm of inconceivable proportions, this event demolished life and society of the continent of Sherin in a matter of days. In the millennium that followed, the riven realms could not be healed and remained a scarred and disturbed place for a millennium. Towards the very end of the Third Age, the Empire had fallen into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their power while trying to avert the collapse of their society, the rulers of the Empire took to measures that horrified the Elder Gods. In an attempt to quench the rebellions of faraway provinces, legions began to systematically wipe out thousands and thousands of oppressed. This culminated in the genocide against the Virani, Viraniae, people of the north. First, the omens were sent but were largely disregarded. Eventually, the gods could not longer tolerate such horrors done in their name and descended from their seat atop Mount Shin. And it said that their anger was so great that they went mad, and in their madness, they toppled the empire without regard to any living soul. They unleashed divine and arcane energies that raged for days, leveling cities, cursing regions, and even tearing holes in the fabric of reality so that the terrible beings could enter at will. Finally, the gods came to their senses, but when they saw what they had done, they were broken in grief and left this reality never to return. The emperor managed to protect the capital and the hearthlands from the worst of the devastation, but he himself was thrust into a state of comatose stasis and has slumbered so ever since. The apostles, his most trusted servants, were resurrected as deathless leech lords who now took control of what was left and began to rebuild the empire. So the empire has been rebuilt by wraiths, by leech lords. The post-calamity era is characterized by arcane anomalies that remained behind the cataclysm and still hold peril for the continent's inhabitants. Mutation and curses are common as a lot of regions still suffer from what was done to them. Seasons do not exist anymore, and most regions were so deeply affected by the cataclysm that the weather is harsh or outright inhospitable for 1,000 years. So this is something the status quo for this world basically. This is basically the status quo, indeed. So we can see the emperor here. The emperor is called the Valen Shevaris, the immortal emperor, protector of the people, the deathless, the divine son of Shin, the king of the elder gods, has been the sovereign of the empire for 2,000 years. So wait, is this like an elf or something that can live like forever? Let's figure out what is happening here. So, 2,000 years. Ever since his self-sacrifice during the calamity and his subsequent comatose state, he has been unable to rule, however, and thus his most trusted servants, the apostles, took on the burden of governing the empire in his name. So the apostles, the wraiths, the lich kings, let's say the Nazgul, something like that, I believe, they have taken because this guy is now in a comatose stasis state. So he cannot rule, basically. It might also behoove any historian or lore master to know that even before the calamity, His Imperial Majesty has been rather distant from state affairs and politics in general, and was mostly occupied with overseeing the construction of the Cathedral of the Ascendants in the capital, as well as with various mysterious passion projects. Thus the apostles have been quite prepared for taking over the rule of the empire in his absence. Imperial tradition states that a golden age had been going on for over 1,000 years at the end of the Third Age. This exquisitely prosperous and blessed period occurred on behalf of the gods themselves. They were the ones who guided Valen Shevaris, the immortal emperor. Valen Shevaris, okay. The immortal emperor. Shevaris ascended to the imperial throne over 1,000 years before the calamity. Him not growing old, or in fact not aging at all, was not a natural phenomenon, and the people of the empire had started to grow suspicious at first. However, the clergy soon declared that Valen Shevaris is a direct descendant of the gods themselves, a son of Shin, the supreme god and king of the pantheon, like Hercules or of sorts. The emperor was thus seen as a demigod, and his popularity grew exponentially in the first few decades of his rule, supported unquestioningly by the clergy. His Divine Majesty performed miracles on a daily basis, refreshing political reforms, sensitive social engineering, economic boom, game-changing inventions, glorious military victories, and divine interventions were among the many things attributed to Shevaris. The true extent of his involvement is impossible to say today, but there is no doubt that under his rule the empire rose to be the greatest power in the whole world. The emperor started to withdraw from public after the first 700 years of his rule and was occupied with mysterious projects for the betterment of his empire. He was absent in the centuries prior to the calamity and only appeared to defend the people of the capital and the hearthlands when the elder god struck. His self-sacrifice saved most of these regions from arcane destruction, but the inconceivable magical energies harmed him so badly that he fell into a stasis and has not woken up ever since. Most Imperials believe that the day will come when he will again walk among them and lead the Empire to a new golden age. The rebirth of the Emperor. Until then, he is slumbering in the Cathedral of Ascendance, so he's located there, the very site of his stand against the treacherous elder gods. And only the 12, as well as the highest ranking Ashkul priests, can see him. There you go, the Ashkul priests. So wait, there's no entry for the Ashkul. Let's see. The is like this? Is it like this? The Ashkul, it is AHSK. Yeah, but there's no entry for them. So only the priests, the Ashkul priests, can see him. Okay, the journey continues. We have 3 morale. Okay. Progress is saved at checkpoints. Whenever you leave a settlement, reach a story-related checkpoint as well as at the start of each in-game day. Your game is saved automatically, overriding the previous autosave. Manual saving is unavailable in the standalone Pilgrims of the Wasteland. In the open world main campaign, you can save manually in the game menu, except during combat and events. You can load your save from the load menu or from the main menu. So apparently,
there they were with a full cargo hold and filled with newfound hope. Yet the road ahead still promised hardships and peril. I travelled with them southwards, expecting to reach more habitable lands beyond the Molten Tongue's river of lava.
okay. So we can see here the river of lava, the Molten Tongue. We have 4 bras with 7 lurgs, almost 5 bras, almost, and 5 changers. We have supplies for 8 days. We are not so well nurtured, and the invigoration is at its maximum, but not so well nurtured. The morale is 7. We gained 3 morale, by the way, so it was very little. It was in 4, 5, 6, 7. Obedience 7. And we have 79 combat strength. The morale gives us a plus 5% and 10% vigor. Increases 15% that. Because of the vigor, we have 10% extra defense. So we have the tasks in here. So you can write here. So we gotta go to was it Avernum? Avernum. Entry 1, entry number 1. So we have gotta give the package to the contact in Avernum, and also we got awnings for the lizard and the cargo. The road ahead is perilous, and we got 8 days supplies at the moment. obscure is the path ahead. And you can see here that pretty much you have the entry here. So amazing. Right? Ah, you would like to delete? No. So there we go. Find out what are the ash school. Find out that. See you in the next one.